Buckle your seatbelt, because we are going to answer the questions that you have asked throughout the course of the day. And we've got an amazing group here. We obviously have Katie Texas Sweeney here. We have Dan Sigorka. And then we have a brand new gentleman, Papani Okai. So Papani, I actually want to start with you.
Okay.
Who are you, man? Can you introduce yourself to the crowd? We haven't seen you all day. Who are you? What do you do, man?
Hi, everyone. My name is Papani Okai. I'm the Executive Vice President of Engineering for Rocket. Currently running all of product engineering here.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question. So Papani, you've been here now 8, 9 months?
Next week will be 1 year.
Okay, well, I got that wrong. That's embarrassing. Okay,
I know.
You've been here a
I
year.
know.
Prior to being here at Rocket, Papani, tell us a little bit about your career history and where you've been.
Yeah, so before I came to Rocket, I was the CTO of Venmo. How many of you know what Venmo is? Yeah? There you go. All right. I was the CTO of Venmo. Prior to that, I was the CTO of PayPal Checkout. So if you ever shopped online, you know the yellow button that you press on, that was my team. Before that, I was a chief architect at Venmo. And before that, I was one of the mobile engineers that built the PayPal app. So I've been at PayPal for quite some time. Before that, I did a bunch of different startups in the Bay Area and all computer science my entire career.
Incredible, incredible. So the reason I asked that, not to put you on the spot, but Varun earlier talked about the type of talent that we build, the type of talent that we want to bring, and even our fourth promise is around tech that does great work so that you don't have to. And it starts with leaders like you that can come in and help think about this ecosystem differently and build really great products. And so with that, I got a couple questions here and I'm just going to kind of fire them off. I'll toss them out into the universe and whoever wants to grab them can grab them. But I'd like to hear from all three of you on this one. If you could describe Rocket Pro's broker community in just one word, what would it be and why? Whoever wants to take it
Go
from
ahead.
Yeah. The community, yes. I would say welcoming. I felt so welcomed by all of you over the past year. Met so many people and was just treated like family from the get-go, and it just made me want to pour so much of myself back into the business. So welcoming for me, for sure.
Great, I love that.
I'm going to go gritty. This is a very resilient group, just a get shit done kind of a group of people. So grit is one of the things that I respect the most in who I work with and support, and this desire to make it happen no matter what you have to overcome, I think is really admirable. Yeah,
I'm new in this space, but with the little that I know, I would say resilient. I think it's kind of like gritty. I think when you think about, what you do for your clients and the constant changes in the market and, rate volatility and all the various changes, what you are able to do for your clients, even regardless of all that, and you keep on thriving, I think that's why I would say resilient.
Yeah.
I like those.
What's your word?
I knew you'd ask. The word is smart, because you're here, you're paying attention, and you're with Rocket Pro. So no, in all honesty, I think all of you hit really, really great words. Industrious. I don't know if I've met, as I've worked with a lot of you, a group of harder working people that care more about actually taking care of their clients and doing the right thing. And so I think about that hard work. It ties to grit. It ties to resilience. I'd say it's industrious.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. We're gonna keep going. See, it's not too hard. It's like the spicy challenge.
Harder.
It gets hotter and hotter over time. Okay, so another easy one, hopefully for all of you. So we unveiled the 10 promises this morning. How are each of you holding yourselves accountable, or holding your teams accountable, or holding us accountable to making sure that we deliver on all 10?
So I'll go first. I would argue, if any of our IMC friends are in the room, they can raise their hands, but they would tell you I am persistent, very persistent when it comes to making sure that we're not just platforming stories, but that we're protecting them and that we're creating passion behind them. That is my commitment. Dan knows this. When he first called me to see if I was interested in joining the team at Rocket, and we talked about this concept of advocacy, and I'd done a lot of work in DC in what's more traditional formal advocacy with regulators and elected officials, and I said, look, I'll come over here and I can advocate externally all day long, and of course I want to keep doing that, but my number one priority is advocating internally. And I said, if that's not something that Rocket's on board with, then it's not going to be the right fit for me. And I think these promises are a way that we hold ourselves individually accountable, but it's also a way that we hold our functional leaders like Papani accountable to making sure these commitments do continue to move forward. It's not just something that we said one day on one stage, but something that we really live and breathe. They're kind of our own little mini isms that just belong to Pro.
Yeah. Papani, I'd love your thoughts on this. I know you and I have talked about this before.
I mean, look, a promise by definition is not something that is optional. So I'm going to answer it slightly different. I think when we crafted these promises, they're very similar to our isms. It's the part of the DNA. And so I'm going to answer it slightly different and said, we don't have an option to break any of these, right? It's something that we're going to make sure that we commit ourselves to achieving. That's the easiest way I'll put it.
If we think about the promises as a whole, obviously there's 10, there's lots of choices. I'm not going to ask you to pick your favorite kid per se, but is there a promise that you get most excited about, or a promise that you look at and you say, this is one that I know is going to really resonate the most with our partners? Maybe Dan, I'll go to you first.
I'll answer kind of the last two questions you asked together.
Yeah.
You know, to me, the way I think about my role at Rocket Pro is that the buck stops with me, right? And what I like to do is to go and listen to the community and what everybody wants, and then kind of lay out a bold path forward along all the things that we do, whether it's tech, whether it's sales, whether it's capital markets, whether it's marketing, and then make yourself accountable because you already said it, you know? And then, you know, you're holding yourself accountable already. And I think I've done a good job of that over my career. But then putting the promises down on paper, I think, was about going beyond the folks in this room and going beyond people that are Rocket advocates that see and feel what we do every day to the rest of the industry that just hears the noise or the naysayers and doesn't really know. So it's kind of putting a challenge to them and saying, this is what we're doing. And you know, show us some facts. Show me the client I stole. You know, like, it's not there, right? So anyway.
Okay.
I think I do want to add on to that. I think it's the accountability aspect. And I think when you said what you said just now, it makes a lot of sense. This gives us an opportunity to show what the Rocket Pro leadership is all about. And we make sure that the things that we are saying to the community, to you, we actually stick by it, right? In the past, we didn't have anything written down, so we didn't know what we were sticking to. But with this, we actually do.
Yeah, love that.
There was a term I think you used earlier when you were chatting with Varun, Dan, the concept of a say-do ratio. And you've mentioned it I think you mentioned it with Heather and a few other times, which is just what percentage of times do you actually do the thing that you say we're going to do? So we put a pretty big bogey out there, and to your point, Papani, I don't think promises are optional. We've got to do it. We've said it, now we've got to deliver. And hopefully every single person in this room, everybody who's watching virtually can hold us accountable to that. But we have to.
I would add on to that too, that so many of these things that we've talked about today, I'm not going to say all of them have always been perfect, but so many of them are things that I found to be true the first week that I got to Rocket. But I think a big part of being able to bring these commitments to life is the first part. It's just saying it. It's right. Writing it down, putting it on paper, putting it in a place that we can see it every day, and putting a flag in the ground that each one of you can visibly see and hold us accountable to as well. These aren't individual conversations being had with your AE or with your crew director. These are commitments that the entire company is making. And if at any point something starts to fall short or you're not seeing the innovation that we've committed to, this is the thing that we continue to point back to. These are what our actions are built off of, what all of our decisions are going to drive behind. So I think step one is to have a say-do ratio, you have to say it. And so now we've said it. And it's our responsibility up here to make sure that we do it.
That's great. So I'm going to go a little bit off script. I'm going to throw actually a curveball at all three of you. And as I was doing the mental math of Apani's time here, I think all of you are within a really short time frame. So what's maybe one perception or one belief you had about Rocket prior to coming here that you've been able to debunk or that you've noticed since being here? If all of you, if one person just wants to chime in, that'd be really interesting to see. But all of you have that perspective and probably had a point of view before coming to Rocket.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first. So I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that I've had an interesting relationship with Rocket in the past, and the way that I've sort of served this community over the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. And I was constantly in a position of being pitched that there was just this big red machine that was a bit soulless, that was just being structured up in Detroit to try to take your job. And I got to know Rocket in a really organic way. It didn't start with Dan. Actually, it started in DC. And Brendan McKay and I had started the Broker Action Coalition, and we really were trying to just do work on behalf of the channel. And we found that everywhere we showed up, Rocket was there fighting on behalf of brokers and just not telling anybody about it, right? We didn't know. We had no idea that we had an advocate, a silent advocate that was there trying to position themselves and use their leverage to create benefits for an audience and a channel that didn't even know that they were doing it on their behalf. And starting to see that work and starting to see the core of who the people are that lead this business, it really shifted the way that I thought about not just Rocket Pro, but Rocket as a whole. And I genuinely believe this place is the perfect example of insane levels of success without having to sell your soul along the way. And that's the type of people that I want to be around. Those are the kind of people that I want to champion. And my perception of this place and the people who run it completely shifted in the most natural way before I even got a call from Dan about potentially joining the team. So I hope that we can keep bringing that to life and showing more people and telling our own story a little bit more vocally, because I think there are a lot of people who want to see that kind of success from good people. And we've got no shortage of good people here trying to drive towards it.
I'm going to do two things on that. One was I was surprised by the ambition this company has. You know, when I joined, it was like, let's focus on the pro business and really try to step up. And I had ideas around how to do that. And then, you know, to launch really like this whole new category around home ownership, tip to tail, to invest billions of dollars to do something that no one had ever done before, that was like a whole new ambition, right? And for a company that already made their name as kind of being the best and having this 40-year run, to take that much risk, and I know Varun didn't say it was risk, but you know, I've bought and sold companies. When you take investor money and you spend $14 billion of it, you have some personal headline risk right there to deliver. So make no mistake, that was ambitious. And I would say the second thing was, I've walked into plenty of companies and you have your platitudes on the wall and it's the customer's always right and all this other bullshit that you don't see anywhere in the company actually happen, you know? And the isms are actually something that people really believe in, you know? And so it's odd to have these kind of like guideposts that don't feel cult-like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can actually use it and not sound weird. And it also makes sense. And it's most likely what you kind of did anyway, but you just didn't verbalize it, right?
Right.
So that's been really cool to find out how that's woven into the fabric here.
It's great. A great shout out and plug. All of you should have ISM's books at your desk or at your table. Make sure that you check them out, take them home, read them twice, like Tim Gentry says. Really, really great things in there. So, Papani, you gave me a look like you've got an answer. So
No. I mean, for me, to be honest, I thought the mortgage and Rocket was just boring stuff, to be honest, coming outside from this industry. And we'll talk about when I first met, you know, Dan, and I was like, I guess we can curse. I said, holy crap, what's all this stuff? The concept of mortgage and how it helps people home, the concept of that for me was mind-boggling. Like, that's such an audacious plan to help everyone home. And I think the second thing was the isms, like really understanding how the isms tie into the DNA of each and every team member and how that intersects to what we are trying to do for people. It was really, really mind-blowing. And so I'm now sweating, understanding all the various changes and how we are building technology to support all those things. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, those are great. Okay, so we're going to pivot just a little bit and we're going to talk about growth and our roadmap and some of the things that we're building. And so, Papani, I'm actually going to go back to you. I'd love to start with you and talk about what area of the roadmap are you most excited about heading through this year into 2026?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'm going to be bold here a little bit, right? I'm going to say that, you know, prior to coming here, I didn't think that the mortgage industry adopted technology at a fast pace compared to the other areas. And when you think about what we are trying to do today, specifically in AI, I will say in AI, or specifically say generative and agentic AI, I will say that there are a lot of key things that we're going to do to make the work that you all do much easier. I think most of you have seen some of the tools that we released, Rocket Assist, which basically helps you answer questions in seconds instead of minutes and days. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Navigator Pro, which is going to enable you with your workflows, understand how to understand your data. Those are things that I believe that are not only going to make you faster at what you do, but it's actually going to help you understand your clients much better. And as you go through these processes, the AI is actually going to get better and better, such that you will be able to not only take care of your clients, but also increase your portfolio. So you're not only closing things much faster, but you're also taking care of your clients much better in a much more safe and sandboxed way. And I use that word very specifically. From a security standpoint, it's very important, but from a sandbox standpoint, the data is yours, right? So having you play with the data how you want, dissect it how you want, and know that your data is not being accessed by somebody else, I think is fundamentally a different and a complete game changer.
Yeah. Katie or Dan, any of you want to touch on an area that you're most excited about and why our broker community should care?
I think it's like an avalanche of things, really. Like like what we've accomplished in the last 60 days from an AI perspective, and just to go into offices with real life people and say, check this out, and have them just, like last week, somebody, like the guy's jaw dropped. He's like, I got to rethink my whole business, right? And like, that's exciting to do. Yeah. And then when you get into, the combination of Redfin, Rocket, and Cooper, I just think it's a really powerful way to change the dynamic and the fragmentation in this industry. There's just, for an industry this big and this important, it's so fragmented. And to have an opportunity to kind of knit it all together, but then enable this distributed workforce, which is essentially you all as partners, is just a really cool kind of once in a generation opportunity. So I'm excited to see that come together. I'm excited to see the fruits of all the pilots we're doing and all the things we really fought to do at Pro.
Yeah.
And I think, the manifestation of that this next year is going to be incredible.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the same thing I've been saying all day if y'all have been here. It's the storytelling. One of the core principles that I have believed in for a really long time, and part of why I love this channel so much and have been so committed to it, is that I think there's so many incredible people doing great work that just don't have access to creating the type of visibility that a national footprint can assist with, right? We don't have stories if we don't have you guys. And the ability to take this centralized idea of community impact and what Rocket has done here in Detroit and decentralize it across every neighborhood in America, that's something that nobody's ever been able to do. And this company really believes in a true sense of community, and I think a lot of the community initiatives we have that we're planning to roll out later this year and in 2026, and the way that we bring more visibility to each individual partner, it's not about Pro, it's about the Pro partners and the people who make up this channel, and that's all of y'all. And so I'm always going to be the one to focus on storytelling. These guys are the tech guys. I'm the story person. So I think it's the marriage of the two, right? Statistics and storytelling are what makes sports great, and the same thing applies in the mortgage industry. So if we can do it the right way and build the right tech and create the right scalability and pair it with the local impact of the stories that all of you bring to the table, then we've got a winning match.
I like that. I think we're going to jump to our next question. And Katie, I actually want to stick with you on this question, which is, you alluded to a little bit of the work that you learned about in DC, but what's something else that Rocket Pro is doing behind the scenes that brokers don't know, but they should? And this could be breaking news for all I know, but I'm just going to toss it out there. I just got to ask the questions.
So we, over the last couple of months, we actually established a listening engine. It's going to continue to evolve, but I think Dan has alluded to it throughout a couple of the sessions. Our primary focus to be able to do what we need to do for all of you is to first stop talking and listen a little bit more, and listen to the requests and the fears and the hopes and the dreams and the optimism that exists from the 1 or 2 person shop in Bethesda, Maryland to the 2,000 person company in Southern California. And every single one of those businesses has a place with Pro. Every single one of those businesses matters, regardless of the size or the scale or the number of years that you've been here, or the number of years that you will be in this industry going forward. We want to create opportunities for everybody, and that starts with listening to as many people as possible. So we've started creating this idea of a listening engine and how we not only gather feedback directly from you, but try to aggregate conversations that are happening, try to figure out how we can best guess what's coming next and bring it to the table to get feedback on where you want to see us head. So it's a pretty cool function. These guys get to see some of the stuff behind the scenes on a weekly basis, and we're hoping to start surfacing that more to our partners going forward as well. So if you're looking to grow or recruit or expand in your business model in some form or fashion, we'd like to be able to bring all these conversations to the surface so you have access to more information in a more efficient way. So that's probably the one that I would pick.
Awesome. I'm actually going to jump to the next question, and I know you said you're the storyteller and these are the tech guys, so I'm going to go to the tech guys for both of this. So I get to be the ops guy, but no one's asking me this question right now, so I'm not worried about it. But brokers often say speed and communication are their biggest pain points. Guys, what's changing to fix that for once and for all?
You want to go? You want me to go? I can go. I think there are two things. One is visibility. I think one of the things is that going back to the listening tool, I think one of the things a lot of you have mentioned is that what is the status of my loan? How is things going? Where is it? Can I understand it even better? And I think one of the things that we're going to do is clearly articulate that and clear visibility in the applications that we're building so that you know exactly what state a loan is at what particular time, so you can have a clear communication with your clients. And I think the second thing that we're also doing is instant notification. So I think whether it is, approvals or income verifications, we're building a notification center that will basically notify you in real time when these things are happening. And we're going to continue building more and more of these capabilities so that it not only keeps you out of the dark, but it also keeps your clients out of the dark so you can close up more loans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I sat in my office, right, and whiteboarded out the process, and clearly we weren't happy with where we were, and we chunked it out into 10 things that we were going to do, and we held ourselves accountable to go start cranking out the 10, right? And so we're just going to keep doing that again, to get everything down in terms of these time blocks. And like Varun talked about this morning, this industry, just to get a loan done, you have to work with like multiple software platforms, multiple vendors, right? And it's just very disconcerting for the client, and it just takes too long. So I'm really happy that we finally committed to ourselves all the way up to the CEO level and said, fuck it, we're going to fix this and we're going to change it. And we're doing that, right? And so it's been really gratifying to see, every couple of weeks us releasing something else that shortens some piece of the turn time, and we're going to go after the hard ones. We're going after appraisal. We're going after a title, right? All these things that fortunately or unfortunately, I've worked in all these segments and understand what they are. And now I think technology is at a point that we can actually break down those barriers and redefine the manufacturing process.
That's great. That's great. Okay, we're going to keep going. I have a lot to say on that, but wholeheartedly just agree with both of you guys because it is, I think about if I order a package on Amazon and I have no idea where it is and when it's going to come, it creates conflict. And so more visibility, but us being tightly aligned as a leadership group from a sales and operations side, I think sets us up for success. This is a fun question. What's an area where Rocket Pro absolutely will not copy a competitor, even if it seems to be working for them? We know that sometimes industries can be copycat industries, and we fancy ourselves as a bit of a disruptor. So what is one area we will not copy a competitor no matter what? And I'll toss it out to the group, whoever wants to answer.
I could take this. I can start here. Since the technology targeted. Look, I think you said something earlier. You said we're listening to our customers. One of the things that I learned early on in my career is it is very important to listen to what your client and customers need and build things based on that. It is perfectly fine to be inspired by what somebody else is doing from a competitor standpoint, but to blindly copy without understanding the why makes no sense. And so one of the things in engineering we are very focused on is really understanding the customer first. The second thing is, look, we're going to build a whole suite of tools that you can use. I know there are a lot of competitors that force you into using specific tools. That's not us. We are going to build the right tools for you, and it's up to you to use them for your workflow. If it makes sense to you, use it. If it doesn't, let us know. We'll adjust it, but we're never going to force you. And I think the last thing is, at the end of the day, this flow is for you to close your loans. The more loans and the more clients you support, it helps us get to our dream of helping everybody home. And so at the end of the day, we want to help you be successful. By you being successful with your clients, and I'm specifically saying your clients, at the end of the day, it helps us with helping everybody home.
I'm going to go to the ism that was talked about a couple times today, but it's do the right thing,
Yeah.
Right? And we bump up. Listen, I'm a sales guy at heart. Like, I want to close every freaking deal I can, right? But we don't compromise at Rocket, and we're never going to, right? And so there'll be competitors that, people will say, oh, I can do this there, I can do that there. And if we don't think it's the right thing, we're not going to do it, and we're going to walk away from the business.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
I'll throw one out there too. We're not going to gatekeep access to good service, right? Your job is to serve your client, not to serve us. And demanding or incentivizing behavior because it benefits Rocket in some form or fashion without keeping the customer at the center of that conversation, it shouldn't be a requirement to get a good partnership from the lenders that you work with. And we're never going to fall into that camp.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I want to talk about leadership. I've had a chance to work very closely with all three of you, and each of you lead a little bit different, have a little bit unique style of leading. So what's one leadership value that you'd want this group to take away that really resonates or is core with you?
Sure, I'll go first. So my motto in leading companies and businesses has always been lead from the front, right? So I want my teams and the people I work with just to be like, holy shit, like this guy's, he's like doing all this stuff. And I thought he would just be the CEO and he'd be relaxing and taking Fridays off and golfing. And like, I just think that when you lead by example and you put in the work, your team is just so much more willing to go to bat for you. Yeah. And you just get so much more than the opposite, which is like, just yell at people and tell them they need to work harder, and then they feel that that's hollow. Yeah. So it's just, fortunately, I like to work, but just leading by that example has always served me well.
Yeah. Yeah, I accountability and authenticity, I think, are the two things that I try to focus on as much as possible. I'm similar to Dan. I'm not going to show up and start screaming at people. That's not who I am. It never has been. I have a pretty long fuse. When I get to the end, it gets a little dicey, but it takes a long time to get there. And I think being authentic to who you are and not forcing yourself into a leadership style that you think is trendy, it really does show the growth and maturity and your ability to lead a team through both really positive times and also really challenging times. And so I try to stay true to who I am and my personality. Hopefully everyone on my team knows the same version of me that every person here knows. I don't think it's about putting on a performance based on who's in front of you. I think it's about staying authentic to who you are, holding yourself accountable, and holding yourself accountable to everything you'd hold your team accountable to. I think Dan does it. I would say all four of us, that is certainly a thread that ties across everybody on this stage. We're never going to ask anybody to do anything that we wouldn't get in the trenches and do ourselves, and do on a regular basis. So those would be my two.
I think I would say honesty and integrity. It was something that my father hammered into my brain very early on. And I think that, look, we've said certain things about our promises and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to. And I think the other thing I want to make sure I clarify as well is that, look, at the end of the day, your clients are your clients. They're not our clients. I think in the past, there's some rumors about us taking people's clients. That's not what this leadership team is here about. This leadership team is here to help you in your workflows, help you take care of your clients, so that at the end of the day, I'm going to repeat this again, we're going to help everybody home. And so, honesty and integrity.
That's right. Dan, I'm going to come to you for this one, and then I'll do a quick lightning round before we wrap. One of the questions that came up repeatedly, it came up so many times, I don't know how to form it into one question, so I'm just going to toss it out there, is there's a lot of conversation with Redfin. I know you and Heather talked about it, but what that means for our broker community. And I'd love for you, if you can contextualize what you think success looks like for both the partnership and then for the broker channel over the next, we'll call it 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, great question. And obviously I have a ton of conversations around this, right? Yeah. I think it's a massive opportunity for both of us collectively. And so let's talk a little bit about the numbers and the data. So now between Redfin and Rocket, 65 million unique monthly visitors with high mortgage and real estate intent. You think about the Redfin brokerage, there's about 2,000 real estate agents. So 65 million leads every month, 2,000 agents, like the math doesn't add up, right? Like we're gonna need some help. So the model for us, we closed maybe 90 days ago, something like that. We're really trying to understand the nature of that traffic, how can we optimize that funnel to the benefit of the client so the client has the best experience? And then how can we maximize the mortgage production for all of our channels relative to that 65 million, right? And so I mentioned a couple pilots that we're doing. We started some Redfin pilots right now.
Yeah.
We've been running data pilots in California for the last 8 months. We don't talk about it that much because we're still launching and learning, but I've delivered over 70,000 leads to brokers, right? From a Rocket perspective. And a lot of people didn't think Rocket would ever do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a massive opportunity that's evolving. And as our tool set gets better and our understanding of lead flow and our ability to create algorithms around propensity to convert and what type of clients want to work with what types of people evolves, it's going to be massive for the community. So I think, it's what I love now about the speed and the pace at which we're executing is like when we talk about things, it's not like, yeah, in a year, like when we talk about it now, it's just like, no, I want to know in 30 days where we're at. And then I want to take action. And I think the organization has been very generous to me in terms of like me saying I want to do things we've never done before and then being like, yeah, cool, go do it.
All he has to do is ask. Who knew? There it is, right there. I want to be thoughtful to time, but I do
not
want
cut into happy hour.
I'm not cutting exactly. I've become
this.
the least popular guy if I cut into happy hour. So we'll just do one very quick lightning round. We don't have to do one word, but I'd love to hear from all of you. What is your bold prediction for 2026 for the broker channel?
I mean, I can go. Then I can get out and go to happy hour.
Yeah, you can get the bar warm up.
Look, I think, in 2026, AI is going to be woven into the DNA of each of the brokers that we have today. And it's going to redefine how you work. And I think at the end of the day, you'll realize those that actually, grasp this moment and actually encompass yourselves in the AI ecosystem, you'll realize that it's not only going to help you close things faster, but it's going to help you be far more efficient. There are a lot of things that right now that they are not automated, it's going to be automated for you, and it's just going to make your work life so much easier.
I think the way Rocket is going to show up as a brand and elevate our branding, like Jonathan talked about this morning, is going to blow you guys away, make you be really proud, continue to be proud, hopefully, to be Rocket partners. And I think as we bring homeownership together, again, the Rocket, Redfin, Cooper combination, I think, at the end of 26, you're going to look back and be like, wow, like I'm so glad. I feel like I'm in the right place. I really feel supported by Rocket, and they're actually delivering on everything they said.
Yeah. Scalability. I think, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was this digital mortgage revolution that Dan was very much at the forefront of, and it created a lot of access for this channel that had never really existed before. There were platforms that started to be offered to brokers that, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was like the worst idea in the world to come work with individual entrepreneurs, and now all of a sudden it was the channel that looked the sexiest to everybody that they wanted to get into. I think now we're on the next cusp of not just having access, but having access to scale. And I think that's a lot of what we're focused on going into next year, creating as much scalability as possible, whether it's through technology or storytelling, information, or simply sharing your feedback with us and letting us noodle on ways that we can improve the process so that you can close more loans in a shorter amount of time and spend the rest of your time with your family or growing your business or with your kids or on a beach. Wherever you want to be and whatever you want to do with your time is completely up to you. That's your dream to define. But I think creating scalability and looking at what opportunities that is going to bring to the table in 2026 it's a completely different way than wholesale has ever been able to operate.
Incredible.
We're just so filled with gratitude that you came and were a part of this, and we hope it was a special day for you. Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.